Okay, so again, in a little bit being challenging as well, I think identity is everywhere. And Coleridge sort of said, water, water everywhere, nor a drop to drink. I think part of the issue we really looked at in the identity context is identity is everywhere, but how are we able to use it in the right way for the necessary services? And I think we're really looking at, there is a new data ecosystem. So what we're seeing, it's a little bit of context on Avoco, is we were the sort of platform that Experian have used for the Skills Funding Agency. We've actually implementing both in terms of stateside in the US, plus in Asia Pac. One of the major mobile operators has taken up what I'm sort of talking about at the moment and deploying it. They tell us, but under their sort of NDA, they've got 80% of the banks in one of the countries to agree and sort of interact. So I think actually there is a development, but that's very, very much, I think, around their understanding of a data ecosystem. It's not per se purely identity. So really, what we really talk about, their thinking, or the thinking we've seen, is more around a sort of trust platform is required within that side. And key around that side of it is usability. I mean, usability is just key around all of the identity ecosystem. Without it, one's dead. Flexibility. It really has to have a plug-and-play type architecture. And the sheer scalability, you know, you're looking at one user to billions of users side. You know, Facebook, Google have done it, the ability to actually interact that way. And I think in where we're looking, that's where it has to go. And because of what's going on in there, the security can't be ignored. So that's security per se across, you know, where are you going to do identity theft, where are you going to go after information. Any of these areas have to be secure. And dynamic, because under dynamic, information, my real life is dynamic. I'm not static. The static thing is my date of birth, unless I lie about it on Facebook or so. Actually, most of my life is very dynamic. What we see in the deployment of trust platform concept really is around potentially you can come in with authentication and uplift. On the government side, it'll be under LOA. What we see in the commercial side is a trust level. And it is very different to every organization. So how do you create a trust level? Federated authentication is how we found people are going for it out there. You know, in truth, Amazon has 200 million user accounts. But what we hear is guys like Amazon, AT&T and others go, doing a government identity or coming in, it's just not needle moving. You know, is it going to make them 1 billion or so? You know, so how do you do it? But they're a great way. I'm a user, I have these. So how do I enable and extend that into the environment? And in a way, it's potential is to invisibly create a persistent identity through that. User consents and permissions are absolutely key in this. So everything I think we're looking at, the change in the world it is about me, the user, and consents and permissions are absolutely key. You know, what we have to look at is that under an ecosystem tied into the identity is age verification. Amazon has great data in their account. Can we draw that in with my consent, draw the information? But I may go, I don't want an identifier to have my name in it. I have to consent to anything brought through. You need to create a personalized experience. You know, ultimately, my everyday life in terms of where I go and or a kid goes in, if you go to a relying party, this should be backwardly. You know, if it's a 6-year-old going in and undertaking something, the experience should come backwards into the IDA aspect that way to a 6-year-old. And if I go to my bank, I want to feel more secure when I'm logging in. It may be the same ID verification. But again, one's looking at an interaction to do that. And the dynamic application of business rules and commercial agreements done through the platform. Because, you know, for one service, I may want to use call credit and the agreements are there, another service Experian. It may be a mixture in terms of verifying data going through. And all of this, I think, is around balanced trust. So what we're really looking at is, you know, similarly, Lord Errol kind of commented, you know, I had HMRC ring me up a few weeks ago. Somehow, a PAYE payment had been double booked, and nobody there could look up the column. Somewhere, probably, maybe because of this forum, they got my mobile number. So I'm a director in the company, they ring me and want to talk to me. I said, you know, give me all the company details. And again, this identification. But I said, you could be in the Ukraine. Ring the account. You know, I'm not going to give you my company details. So we build this relationships in the real world of trust. So I think everything we're looking in has to be around this data relationship. So what we've got to move off from is kind of hardwired identity solutions, much more to a plug-and-play architecture around trust platforms. Easily configurable, we've talked about relying party and user control and consent. So we're really looking at, and I think one of the things, David Alexander will probably come in around the data, where we may have differences in views of perhaps the best ways of doing things. This is extended user data services. Around identity, key is the data provision piece. A natural extension of user accounts within a trust platform concept is really, you can start to put data there. You can actually start to extend it to Apple's iCloud. I can start to permission the usage of this data coming through from that side of it. I should be allowed to share this data. Most of it is really mine, even if people argue. And I think if anyone needs to look, a really good place to look at the EEMA work under Kantara is really very good for consent platform aspects. So that combining into identity platforms. This is a natural fit really to both identity, personal data store concepts. So what I'm proposing really is this is a symbiotic relationship we're now entering into with authentication, with verified identity. You've got federation, single sign-on. You do multiple verification options are plugged into a trust platform. You're looking online, offline, age verification, social, just extend it. And the scalability, where I touched, it's got to scale up. And actually what you have to plug in are thousands of data sources in the end. And then in the end, depending upon the experience or the requirements or the consents, you actually choose what is the right. And it may well be, it's not my name has to be there. This can be anonymized in terms of going through from that side. So if I look at really almost, in a way, the architecture side of it is, where the trust platform is really fitting in, it could do pure IDA. So in a way, what our platform does as a skills funding agency is virtually within the same as the Cabinet Office guidelines, pure IDA. But you're really looking at validation. So validation could even come in at the authentication. And it should be multiple forms of authentication, whether it's biometrics, whether it happens to be my Amazon account or so, because different services. If I come in at level 0, I'm signed in at Amazon, why trouble me? But actually you want to service a much higher level, allow a higher level of authentication, or something falls over, Amazon goes down. Then in the trust platform side, a huge amount of attribute provisioning, I'm talking thousands of sources in the end, are then controlled through business rules. It potentially goes through hubs. At Skills Funding Agency, there is a hub. Other aspects, unfortunately, there are tons and tons of sites that will never actually get through to hubs. This lifts, both the hub and the trust platform lift the load out from the relying party sites. So I think, this doesn't preclude that attributes go to the hub. This doesn't preclude they go that way. So I think the ecosystem is mixed, and we have to maintain its dynamic. Thanks.